What if the things that always made you feel broken were actually the exact things that make you rare? Think about that for a moment. For years, maybe your whole life, you've carried a quiet belief that something is wrong with you. Too sensitive, too intense, too deep, too different, too much for some people, not enough for others. But what if none of that was ever true? Certain minds develop differently, not superior, not inferior, just structured differently. The world calls it abnormal. Psychology calls it exceptional cognitive architecture. And you may have been carrying it your entire life, without a single person naming it for you. Over the next 20 minutes, I'll walk you through 6 signs psychology has quietly identified in people who process the world at a completely different depth. And if even 3 of these apply to you, you're operating on a level most people around you will never fully access. You've felt different since you were young. Not different as a quirk. Different in a way you couldn't explain. Even to yourself. You'd sit in rooms full of people who all seemed to click effortlessly into place. And you were always slightly outside the frame. Small talk drained you. Groups left you empty. Even people you loved required recovery time afterward. And you've asked yourself the same private, painful question 1,000 times. Why am I like this? Maybe the problem was never you, because modern psychology has been quietly documenting this for years. Specific, measurable patterns in people who process the world more deeply than others. These aren't quirks. They aren't flaws. They're documented cognitive tendencies. Real, studied, understood. And only a small percentage of people carry them at the intensity you probably do. You've spent decades trying to become more like everyone else. But nobody explained that everyone else may have been trying, quietly, secretly, to be more like you. Let's begin. Sign 1. You recharge in solitude. After being around people, you need to disappear. Not for an hour, sometimes for days. And it doesn't matter how much you enjoyed the company. Something in you just empties. And the only thing that refills it is silence. This isn't preference. This is recovery. You know the feeling. The moment you close your front door and feel your whole body exhale. The way silence feels like oxygen after a long day. The quiet relief when plans get cancelled. That little burst of freedom you'd never admit to anyone. Your real self only surfaces when there's no one else in the room. Here's what psychology tells us about why. Your nervous system processes social interaction at a much higher intensity than most people's. Every conversation, every glance, every subtle undercurrent in the room. Your brain is taking in more of it than the average person even notices. That's not opinion. That's neurology. The clinical term is high cortical arousal, combined with sensory processing sensitivity. Your brain simply does more with each social input. It processes deeper. It analyzes further. It uses more resources. So when the interaction ends, your recovery isn't optional. It's biological. But nobody around you sees that. They call you antisocial, cold, distant, difficult. They interpret your need to withdraw as rejection because they can't feel what social contact actually costs you. To them, a conversation is a conversation. To you, a conversation is a full-body experience. Here's the reframe I want you to hold on to. You're not avoiding people. You're protecting the depth that makes you valuable in the first place. The very thing they enjoy about you, your presence, your attention, your care, is possible only because you know how to restore yourself in solitude. Solitude isn't your problem. Solitude is where you become yourself again. Sign 2. You search for deeper meaning. You've never been able to just accept things. Surface answers don't work for you. Never have. Every conversation, every situation, every decision, there's a version of you underneath that keeps asking, but why? You want to understand the mechanism, not just the outcome. You want the logic beneath the logic. And just because was never enough for you. Somebody would give you a shallow explanation, and instead of feeling satisfied, you'd feel frustrated. Like they gave you the wrapper and skipped the actual thing. Even as an adult, when people offer easy answers to hard questions, something in you still resists. You can't force yourself to accept what your mind knows is incomplete. Psychology has a name for this. It's called high need for cognition, a documented trait. The tendency to actively enjoy and pursue effortful, deep thinking, not because you have to, because your brain wants to, because thinking feels the way exercise feels to someone who loves movement. Only a small percentage of people carry this trait at the intensity you do. And here's what nobody prepared you for. Society doesn't reward it. It punishes it. You think too much. You analyze everything. Just enjoy the moment. Those phrases become weapons. Used casually. Used by people who couldn't sit with a complex thought for 10 minutes if their life depended on it. And each one chips away at the exact quality that makes your mind valuable. Because here's what's actually happening. What looks like overthinking is actually thorough processing. Your mind isn't stuck. It's excavating. It's doing the deep work that shallow minds skip. And then those same shallow minds call you dysfunctional for doing it. Yes, there's a cost. Exhaustion, isolation, being called too much. But there's also this. You see what others miss. You solve what others can't. And the same mind that processes information this deeply doesn't just read information, it reads people. Sign 3. You read people before they speak. You know something is wrong before they say a word. The micro-shift in their tone, the pause that came a half second too late, the way their eyes moved when they said, "I'm fine." Your radar runs constantly, without effort, without permission, and most people around you have no idea this is happening. You feel what others feel, sometimes before they know it themselves. When someone in the room is anxious, you feel it in your body. When someone is sad, but performing okay, you feel the gap between the performance and the truth. When there's tension between two people that neither has named yet, you're the one who noticed it first. You catch the compliment with a hidden edge underneath. You notice the "I'm fine" that clearly isn't. You register the subtle exclusion in a group before the person being excluded even realizes it's happening. This isn't intuition. This is advanced perception. Psychology has terms for what's happening. Mirror neuron activity, emotional contagion, high perceptual sensitivity. Some minds are calibrated to feel what others feel at higher intensity than normal. Yours is one of them. And that calibration didn't come free. Because here's the exhausting part. Every conversation, for you, is multi-layered. You're processing the words and everything underneath them. The literal content and the emotional subtext. By the end of an ordinary day, you're carrying emotional data from every interaction, and most of it, nobody knew they were giving you. And this creates a very specific kind of loneliness. You know people better than they know themselves. You understand them at depths they can't reach on their own. But very few can return that depth, and so you end up knowing everyone, while being known by almost no one. That's a heavy weight to carry quietly. Let me pause here for a moment. If you've been recognizing yourself in these signs, one after another, I want you to know something. You're not imagining it. You're beginning to understand something you've never had language for. Why you've always felt different. Why the world has never fit you the way it seems to fit everyone else. Why you've spent years wondering if something was wrong with you when, actually, something was very right with you and nobody explained it. These signs aren't separate traits. They're the outline of a specific type of mind. And the next 3 signs go even deeper. Sign 4, you never feel like you truly belong. Even in the rooms where you're welcomed, you don't fully belong. That's the part that's always been hard to explain. It's not that people reject you. It's not that you're actively excluded. You have friends, family, people who love you. And still, inside all of it, there's a quiet, persistent sense of being slightly outside. How do you tell the people who love you that even inside their love, you feel a little bit alone? Here's what's actually happening. You're what psychology calls an observer. Even in your own life, even at your own birthday parties, part of you watches the room instead of being fully in it. You process conversations more than participate in them. You experience your own moments with a slight, unshakable distance. This isn't dissociation. This is how deep processors experience reality. There's a specific kind of loneliness that comes with this. Psychology calls it existential isolation, and it's different from ordinary loneliness. Ordinary loneliness is being alone. Existential isolation is feeling that the way you experience life is fundamentally different from how others experience it. Even when you're standing right next to them, you can be surrounded and still feel it. Because it's not about proximity, it's about frequency. Belonging requires shared frequency. Yours is uncommon, not better, not worse, just less common. And that means fitting in requires you to shrink. And being fully yourself requires patience for the rare kind of people who can match your depth. You don't fail at belonging because you're broken. You fail at surface belonging because you were never built for surface. Your belonging comes at a different level, with fewer people, but with rare accuracy. By now, you may be starting to realize something. These aren't 6 separate traits. They're 6 different expressions of the same underlying mind. One architecture, multiple manifestations, the solitude, the depth, the perception, the observer's distance. All of it, the same source. All of it, you. And the next 2 signs will bring everything into focus. By the end of the final sign, you'll finally have language for what you've been your entire life. The same mind that refuses to shrink itself to fit, also refuses to perform for approval. Sign 5. You choose authenticity over approval. You may have started life as a people pleaser. A lot of deep processors do. You noticed early that being agreeable made things smoother, that softening yourself made people comfortable, that performing acceptable was rewarded. So you did it, for years, maybe decades. But at some point the cost became too high, because the exhaustion of performing eventually got worse than the risk of being disliked. And one day, quietly, you decided you couldn't keep doing it. Not consciously, not dramatically, just gradually. You started saying the honest thing instead of the polite thing, started letting people see the real version of you, started choosing yourself in the small moments where nobody was watching. You have what psychology calls an internal compass. Not everyone does. Most people operate almost entirely on external validation, adjusting themselves based on what the group thinks. You have that pressure too, but it doesn't control you anymore. Something inside you is louder than the group. You'd rather be misunderstood than perform. You'd rather lose approval than lose yourself. That's a rare and expensive choice, because approval feels good. Being liked feels safe. And when you choose authenticity instead, in a world constantly pressuring you toward the acceptable version of yourself, you pay a real price. Fewer connections, less social smoothness, occasional isolation. But here's the reward almost nobody talks about. You wake up every morning and don't have to remember which version of yourself you performed for whom. You're the same person in every room. That's a form of peace most people spend their whole lives without ever knowing. And there's one more trait that ties it all together. Sign 6. You never stop learning. You've been curious since you were a child. And here's the strange thing. That curiosity never went away. It didn't age out. It didn't get satisfied. If anything, it's gotten stronger with time, deeper, more refined, more insistent. Every answer opens 3 new questions for you. School may have ended. Your education never did. You read constantly. You watch things nobody else in your life watches. You study subjects nobody asked you to study. You go down research holes at midnight and come out at 2 a.m. knowing things you didn't when you started, often without anyone in your life ever finding out. Learning isn't a goal for you. It's a metabolic function. It's like breathing. Your mind requires it to feel alive. And when you go too long without something new to think about, you feel it in your body. Something in you starts to dim. The mark of a genuinely rare mind isn't having answers. It's asking better questions. Anyone can accumulate information. Very few people can ask the question that unlocks something no one else was able to see. You've been refining that skill for decades, quietly, without recognition, and you've become extraordinary at it. And there's something even deeper you've learned. You've stopped confusing knowing things with being wise. Knowledge is information. Wisdom is knowing what to do with it, and what not to do with it. Wisdom means holding what you know loosely enough to update it. Certainty is comfort. Wisdom is truth. Certainty is what shallow minds cling to. Wisdom is what deep minds choose instead. And this is the trait that ties everything together. Every sign we've walked through today points to one underlying thing: a mind that refuses to stop growing. That is why you feel different. That is why you don't fit. That is why solitude, meaning, perception, and authenticity all matter so much to you, because your mind is still in motion, when most people's have already stopped. Let me pull everything together for you. You are not 6 separate traits. You are not a random collection of quirks that happen to overlap in one person. You are one specific type of mind, one architecture, one rare cognitive configuration psychology has been quietly documenting for years, even though the world you live in has never explained it to you properly. Think about how they described you. They called your solitude antisocial. They called your depth overthinking. They called your perception paranoia. They called your authenticity difficult. They called your endless learning never satisfied. They were wrong about every single one. Every trait we've walked through today is documented. Every one has legitimate psychological grounding. What was called dysfunction for most of your life is now understood, quietly, in the actual research, as a rare cognitive style, something real, something rare enough that most people you know don't have it, which means this: you never needed to be fixed. You needed to be understood. And the version of you that exists in private, the honest one, the deep one, the one you've hidden most of your life, is the version that was always the truth. The performed version was the fiction. And here's the part I want you to hold on to. The years you spent trying to become more normal were years of loss, because the person you tried to become was never as valuable as the person you already were. It's time to come home to yourself. Your uniqueness was never your weakness. It was the thing you were told to hide, the thing you were taught to apologize for, the thing that could have been your greatest strength. If anyone had named it early enough for you to trust it, nobody did, but you can now. Your mind works differently, and differently is not a synonym for worse. Most people see the surface of the world. You see the structure underneath it. Once you understand yourself, everything changes. You stop apologizing. You stop shrinking. You stop trying to be who you were never meant to be. Self-awareness becomes your foundation, not confidence, not arrogance, awareness. Real, clear-eyed awareness of who you actually are and why you were made this way. That is the rarest form of power in a world full of unconscious people. You just found yours. Before you go, one small question. Which of these 6 signs described you most accurately? Just comment the number or the trait. I read every single one. And if psychology videos like this help you understand yourself, subscribe. There's more here, made for people exactly like you. You're not alone in feeling different. You just finally have language for it.